Hi, I'm Tommy Sotomayor, and I'm here to talk about the video by Miss Jada Pinkett Smith. I'm wearing this shirt in solidarity of boycotting the Oscars. Jada Pinkett Smith did a video on her couch, just like this one, except her cat didn't scratch up her $6,000 couch for no reason. Jada Pinkett sat and she did a video just like this, with her voice sounding just like this. And she was talking about this shirt. It means boycott white people and the Oscars. I know it looks like the Ghostbusters shirt, but it isn't. Anyway, what I want you guys to do is take a look at this strong black woman who's only looking out for other strong black actresses. She's going to talk about the Oscars and how they've denied us blacks a seat at their table. And after she does it, I'm going to give you my opinion. Love and peace.
Hi, today is Martin Luther King's birthday. And I can't help but ask the question, is it time that people of color recognize how much power, influence that we have amassed, that we no longer need to ask to be invited anywhere? I ask the question, have we now come to a new time and place where we recognize that we can no longer beg for the love, acknowledgement, or respect of any group? Then maybe it's time that we recognize that if we love and respect and acknowledge ourselves in the way in which we are asking others to do, that that is the place of true power. I'm simply asking the question. Here's what I believe. The Academy has the right to acknowledge whomever they choose, to invite whomever they choose. And now I think that it's our responsibility now to make the change. Maybe it is time that we pull back our resources and we put them back into our communities, into our programs, and we make programs for ourselves that acknowledge us in ways that we see fit, that are just as good as the so-called mainstream ones. I don't know. Here's what I do know. Begging for acknowledgement or even asking diminishes dignity and diminishes power. And we are a dignified people, and we are powerful, and let's not forget it. So, let's let the Academy do them with all grace and love, and let's do us differently. I got nothing but love. Hey, Chris, I will not be at the Academy Awards, and I won't be watching, but I can't think of a better man to do the job at hand this year than you, my friend. Good luck. And to the rest of you, nothing but love, always.
Okay, let me start off by saying, number one, I respect Mrs. Jada Pinkett Smith immensely. I respect her because she's been able to stay with Mr. Will Smith through the ups and downs of what they've been doing online. I love to see black relationships, black families. So you're not going to hear me go completely left with this, but I have to speak up. And before I finish, I'm going to remind you, if you look inside of the link in the description box, there will also be a video to Miss Janet Huber, the woman who used to be Vivian. They call her Black Vivian from Fresh Prince. She also had something to say. So I want you guys to see it because I have something to say about her too. But I'm going to start right here with Miss Jada Pinkett Smith. Number one, you make too much money for that video to be grainy like Abraham Zapruder shot it. That's ridiculous. Number two, what's up with that weird soft voice? I don't know, but you sound very respectful. So we got to start there. Thank you for shouting out Chris Rock and saying do a good job. Now, people were saying that you were asking everyone to boycott the Oscars. But after looking at it more, I don't see you asking that. Now, unless there's more to it than what I saw, I just saw you saying that you're taking a stance. But here's my problem. You're only taking a stance because your husband and his horrible African accent didn't win a nomination. Now, all these black people are running around right behind you, saying that we should boycott the Oscars. You talked about how blacks have so much power, and maybe it's time for us to stand up for ourselves and maybe do for ourselves. How old are you, Jada Pinkett? How old is Will Smith? How old is your fine mama? What is her phone number? I'd like to have it. But back to the subject. You're old enough and have been in Hollywood long enough to have seen this happen over and over and over again. And yet all of a sudden now you feel like blacks need to stick together. And even though you didn't say it, you are asking to rally more black people together behind your cause. Now Michael Moore stood up and said he's behind you 100%. Good job for getting this white man to be behind you. And I'm sure you'd want other white men behind you, which would again probably ruin your movement. If you really wanted blacks to stand up and win something or to start their own, where were you when the black folks that actually had good movies and they got snubbed? This here 2016, what movie or actor do you believe should have got something from last year that isn't? What was this great black movie or great black star that you saw from last year and there was this breakout role? Please tell me. Slimer wants to know. I asked this because your husband's role was okay, but there was nothing memorable about that movie. Nobody's talking about that movie. No one says, wow, that was a great film. No one says, Will embodied this actor's or this role like no other could. Didn't happen. Now, is that happening because white people are suppressing this film? Is it happening because black people aren't going to see it? As a matter of fact, here's the great part about it. Blacks don't even support black films. We'll go see a Marvel film before we go see anyone else. Why is it that Robert Downey Jr. isn't complaining about not getting any acting when he's in The Avengers? He's not getting any Actors of the Year award or someone that's in Jurassic World. They're not getting any nominations. Why? Their movies are selling more than anyone else's. Shouldn't they be complaining? Now, black people love to complain about white people not letting them do something. And I've been saying for years that black people needed to start their own stuff. But again, you and Will are close to 50 and never thought about this until Will lost. It sounds really selfish, Jada. Now, I understand that a lot of things come about because of selfish reasons. But don't ask people who are in the position that you were in 20 years ago to join your movement when they're just like you, who want to make their money and sit around white people. You wanted to sit around white people. You wanted to be around white people, just like your husband. You guys had no problem making the movie Hitch where wasn't no black folks in that. You had no problem doing a lot of films where, your son was featured. How many other blacks were featured? Your kids are being groomed. Your daughter's laying up with a white boy in the bed. Where's the black kids? See, you want us to join you because you feel mistreated. And that's one of the biggest problems amongst black people. Black people love to start a movement because they've been hurt. But when they saw you be hurt, they had nothing to say. They had no thought behind it. Nothing made them stop and say, you know what? Even though I'm in a comfortable position, that person's in an uncomfortable position. That person's being hurt. That person's being screwed over. And since that person's being hurt and that person's being screwed over, I'm going to stand up even though I'm in a comforted position. It would be great if more black people did that. If more black people stood up and said, there's a right time, and that right time is when someone's being oppressed, not when I'm being oppressed. So Jada Pinkett Smith, you're about 20 years too late. Once you realize what was going on in Hollywood, that's when you should have stood up. But you wanted to stay silent to get your position in life. And so did your husband. And now, I think you both should stay silent. If you're not gonna go, don't go. Because it is personal. It has nothing to do with you care about black folks. It has nothing to do with you want to see black people progress. It has everything to do with you're bitter that your husband didn't get what you thought he should have gotten. Now, I want to praise you again, though, for standing up for your husband, standing beside your husband. There's nothing cooler than that. I want to again thank you for sounding very, very intelligent, for being very articulate, for making sure you didn't come across as this ghetto, cussing, yelling, disgusting. You embodied what a woman should be. And I cannot ether someone for doing what you did. You're standing up for your husband, and you're standing up for what you believe in. But what you're doing when you try to sneak and ask other people to do it, I think it's unfair, because your cause is a personal one. It's not one for the people. Just because it's MLK Day doesn't mean that what a black person says is revolutionary. You could help a lot of people change the economic situation of black people. We don't need to try and go to the Masters. We could create our own golf club. We don't need to turn around and need white people to give us an award for the Grammys, the Tonys. We are music, Jada. We are music. Nobody else, it's us. There's not even a such thing. Nobody even listens to country anymore. Country tries to turn into rap. But black men are the ones who, one, need to be getting praised for what they're doing. And two, since we know we don't need them, why don't we create our own? We don't need someone like Jada asking this now when Jada should have been asking this 20 years ago. We don't need to be playing in the NFL if we believe they're treating us wrong. Start our own. We're the best athletes in the country. It makes no sense that for years we've been begging white people to pat us on the head. So Jada, you're late. And you're disingenuous. But I like the fact that you love your husband, you're standing up for your husband. Anybody else out there that's trying to get behind her on this movement, remember, there is no movement. If you're in Hollywood and you have an opportunity to get ahead in Hollywood, then do what you do. Black people, start making better films. Maybe, just maybe, someone will acknowledge them instead of asking them to acknowledge the films you've made. Because, again, I go back to the beginning. What were the black actors or the black roles that you felt should have gotten the Oscar nomination? NWA? I loved NWA. I didn't see any acting in this movie that was just so outlandish or so great and flawless. The thespians. I didn't see this. I enjoyed the movie because it was about a portion of life that I remember. It was a part of my childhood. So yes, I liked it. But I'm not stupid enough to believe that the acting in this thing was just so awesome. Because it wasn't. A lot of it looked like it was really cheap. Now, that being said, what are your thoughts? Should black people boycott the Oscars, or should they just do what they should have done years ago? Create their own and stop asking white people to be a part of theirs. As I said before, one of the worst things that ever happened to black people was they was given a choice. Integration or an opportunity to be treated equal. Integration or equality. And instead of equality, black people chose integration. Blacks lost millions of dollars in the Negro League, which was flourishing before blacks started going into the major leagues. For some reason, blacks wanted to play in the major leagues when you had millionaire team owners that were black in the Negro Leagues. Every time all we want to do is find ourselves laid up under white people. White people, please accept us. And when they don't, you get hurt. And then you ask other black people to join you against white people. When you were the main one laying under white people, hoping that they'd pat you on the head. Let's make a movement because a movement needs to be made, not because our feelings are hurt. A movement's been way past due. Stop naming your stuff Soul Awards, Black Awards. Just name it a frickin' award. Stop being so upfront with your stupidity. White people aren't calling it the white Oscars. It's the Oscars. They just make sure they bring white people. Name yours the Alvin Ailey Awards or whatever. The art, who cares? Come up with a name. The Sidney Poitiers. Do what they do. Be just as slick as they are. Be just as callous as they are. And when you don't need other people, that's when they come for you. That's how the Negro Leagues got shut down. That's how every league where it was just blacks. That's why black colleges don't have black players anymore. Isn't that crazy? The best players in college don't go to black schools. They go to white ones, even though they're black. We kill each other because of our incessant need to be under white people, to be accepted by white people. That's why people like you, Jada Pinkett, black women, love to say white women do it too. It's sickening. It's time, you're right. But it's not time to be led by people like you, who are only doing it for selfish reasons. It's time to be led by people who are actually the younger generation, who can do something that your generation and my generation failed to do. Lead by example. I'm Tommy Sotomayor. Peace and love.